We know you have a lot of ways you could be spending your time, and it means so much to us that you're here for Castle Hills Christian Church, online church. We encourage everyone to minimize distractions, to grab a Bible, and to prepare your heart and mind to worship, learn, and fellowship together online. Later in the service, we'll be taking communion together, so we encourage you to grab some bread and some juice to prepare for that later on in the service. We're asking everyone to fill out a connection card at chccsa.info. There you'll find all kinds of other information about our church. We'd love to connect with you at chccsa.info. Let's worship together.
When night has fallen and fear is calming, still you're calling me. When faith is lost and my hope exhausted, you will be my strength. And when my mind says I'm not good enough, God, you're enough for me. Yeah, I've decided I'm not giving up, 'cause you won't give up on me. You won't give up on me. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I can feel it breaking out like an echo in my soul. Oh, so in every season you keep repeating promises to me. Now there's no stopping what you have started until it is complete. When my mind says I'm not good enough, God, you're enough for me. Yeah, I've decided I'm not giving up, 'cause you won't give up on me. You won't give up on me. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I can feel it breaking out like an echo. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I can feel it breaking out like an echo in my soul. Oh, so like an echo in my soul. Oh, so when my mind says I'm not good enough, God, you're enough for me. Yeah, I've decided I'm not giving up, 'cause you won't give up on me. You won't give up on me. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I can feel it breaking out like an echo. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I can feel it breaking out, hey! Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I can feel it breaking out like an echo. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I can feel it breaking out like an echo in my soul. So like an echo in my soul. So I choose to worship, I choose you now. Though there's pain in the offering, I lay it down. And here in the conflict, when doubt surrounds. Though my soul is unraveling, I choose you now. And I will praise you through the fire, through the storm, and through the flood. There is nothing that could ever steal my soul. In the valley, you are worthy. You are good when life is not. You will always and forever be my song. I build my altar right here and now. In the midst of the darkest night, it won't burn out. For you are perfect, no matter what. In the joy or the suffering, I sing it loud. So I will praise you through the fire, through the storm, and through the flood. There is nothing that could ever steal my soul. In the valley, you are worthy. You are good when life is not. You will always and forever be my song. When the enemy says I'm done, I lift my praises. When my world comes crashing down, I lift my praises high. Till the darkness turns to dawn, I lift my praises. Oh, I choose to worship. I choose you now. When the enemy says I'm done, I lift my praises. When my world comes crashing down, I lift my praises high. Till the darkness turns to dawn, I lift my praises. Oh, I choose to worship. I choose you now. Oh, I choose to worship. I choose you now. And I will praise you through the fire, through the storm, and through the flood. There is nothing that could ever steal my soul. In the valley, you are worthy. You are good when life is not. You will always and forever be my song. When the enemy says I'm done, I lift my praises. When my world comes crashing down, I lift my praises high. Till the darkness turns to dawn, I lift my praises. Oh, I choose to worship. I choose you now. Oh, I choose to worship you. I choose you now. Oh, I choose you now.
Waiting is an inevitable part of life. It doesn't matter if you're waiting for your coffee order, waiting for the pair of shoes you really want to come back in stock, waiting for test results, or waiting on help while making a big decision. Waiting is tough. When you're waiting, you might feel excited, but you might feel skeptical too, especially when what you've been promised gets delayed. You start to wonder when you've waited long enough. Eventually, you might even give up hope. Sometimes people of faith have to wait on God. While we wait on God, we need to remember that God has a plan. God is faithful, God is listening, and we should never give up hope because God's not given up on us.
I'll never forget hearing my Sons, when they were babies, in the next room, cooing in their little baby beds, their little whimpers. I was a light sleeper, and so I could hear them, especially in the middle of the night. And sometimes, as a parent, you realize exactly what each sound means. Sometimes that little whimper meant that they needed a diaper change, and especially if it was the middle of the night, I'd kind of push Mom over, and she would push me back, and she would send me over to change diapers in the middle of the night. And sometimes that little whimper meant that they were hungry, and truly I did have to push Mom out of bed for that one. And sometimes I could hear them just cooing and just having a good time in the middle of the night. And I treasure those things in my heart. I mean, yeah, I still look back on those times and just hearing your child just coo and their little sighs and their little whimpers. And I think about that, and I think about that's the God that we have. He hears our sighs. He hears our whimpers. He hears everything. If you have your Bibles, go ahead and turn to Psalm 116. Some believe the psalmist who wrote this was David. And regardless of whether it was David or not, we see a lament of a man surrounded by grief and sorrow, and most likely because death had touched his life. This man may have been waitlisted. Things didn't go his way. And you'll see in this psalm, the psalmist praises God. In Psalm 116, it says, "I love the Lord because He hears my voice, my prayer for mercy, because He bends down to listen, and I pray as long as I have breath." This is just a beautiful psalm right here, these two verses. We have a God that hears us. Now, how many of you have talked to someone and you could tell they weren't listening? Like you were saying words and they may have been shaking their head, but you could tell their mind was somewhere else and they really couldn't repeat what you're saying, and they basically had just kind of put you on mute, even though their head was shaking. How many of you know that you've been in situations like that? Now, how many of you have been guilty of this? I know I have, especially when Julie's talking to me during a ball game or something like that. She might be saying something and I might shake my head, but it's not really processing. Well, we have a God that pays attention to us. We have a God that hears us. He hears our voice. He knows our voice. He knows us. And I love that we have a God that has heard, that does hear, and will hear. He's like a father that bends down on one knee and listens to his child. It's one of my favorite things to watch, is watching a father when his son or daughter comes up to him and he gets down on one knee and he looks him right in the eye, and you can tell that child has their undivided attention. That's what our God does. He leans closer to us when we speak. Charles Swindoll said this: God never turns His back on those who cry out to Him through tears. In fact, He bends closer to us. As we continue reading Psalm 116, we see the writer went through a lot of tragic times. He's experienced pain and death and grief and sorrow. And sometimes when we're waitlisted, when we're going through these times, we wonder, does God care? Does God listen? Is He even around? And just continue to read this Psalm 116 with me, starting at verse 3. It says, "Death wrapped its ropes around me. The terrors of the grave overtook me. I saw only trouble and hope. Then I called on the name of the Lord. Please, Lord, save me. How kind the Lord is. How good He is, so merciful, that this God of ours. The Lord protects those of childlike faith. I was facing death and He saved me. Let my soul be at rest again, for the Lord has been good to me. He has saved me from death, my eyes from tears, my feet from stumbling." And sometimes when we're in the waiting zone, we wonder, does God really care? Has He forgotten about me? And the psalmist reminds us that we have a God that's a specialist when it comes to deliverance. He doesn't always deliver the way that we think it's going to go. Sometimes He tells the Red Sea to stop because He's heard the cries of His people. Sometimes you face lions and And God didn't say there won't be any lions. The lions show up, but then God closes their mouths. Sometimes you pray for a child, and you've all but given up. But like Zechariah and Elizabeth, God says you're going to be buying diapers not only for yourself, but you're going to be going down that baby aisle, and you're going to be buying diapers for a little one. Sometimes people like Lazarus die, and God does the unexpected. Sometimes God delivered David in ways that he would have never imagined. Some of you right now need to hear this. God sees you and He hears you and He's working in your situation even when you don't realize it. Sometimes while being waitlisted, sometimes I'm tempted to think, God, you are not listening to me. And I cry out to Him and I say, God, do you see what's going on? Do something. Do something now. I read this story and I wonder if you won't be able to relate. There was this middle-aged man that was distraught over his wife's stubborn refusal to admit that she had a hearing problem. So one day he asked his family doctor for advice to convince his wife that she had a problem. The doctor said, okay, well, this is what you should do. When you come home, open up the door and say, honey, what's for supper? If she doesn't answer, then go into the kitchen and say, honey, what's for supper? If she still doesn't answer, then whisper into her ear, honey, what's for supper? This surely will convince her that she has a problem. So the man was excited, heard the advice. He gets home, he opens up the door and he says, honey, what's for supper? No response. He goes into the kitchen. He says, honey, what's for supper? No response. He snuggles up to his wife and whispers into her ear, honey, what's for supper? She says, for the fourth time, I said, we're having spaghetti. See, we have a God that hears us from far away. Maybe it's us that needs to get closer to Him. Maybe the hearing problem isn't God, but maybe it's with us. The question is, are we listening? Not, is God listening? God is listening. So often, it's us that's not hearing the message. Each week, we try to give you some next steps to ponder. And last week, one of them was to schedule or take a nap, because we're focused on the spiritual discipline of rest. This week, I want you to rest by sitting outside, and I want you to intentionally listen to God. And God might speak to you in a wide variety of ways. He might speak to you by the birds chirping outside. He might speak to you by a beautiful flower. There might be something in the sky that speaks to you, but I just want you to intentionally sit there and listen. And secondly, is there a prayer that you've given up on or felt like God forgot? Take some time to pray, to trust God that He does hear you and that He's working on your behalf. I want to encourage you, don't give up. Just because you've been praying something and it seems like God's not answering, I want you to continue to persevere and keep on praying for that. Psalm 34:17 says, the righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them, and He delivers them from all of their troubles. As we get ready for communion this morning, I want to give you permission to cry out to God. If you're frustrated, let God know. If you're happy, let God know. Communion is a time that we intentionally push the pause button and we listen for God to speak into our lives. We can cry out to Him, but we also need to be intentional about listening to Him. And so as you take communion today, listen and ask, God, how do you want to speak to my life? Is there something that I'm missing? Would you pray with me? Jesus, thank you for being a God that listens, a God that leans into us when we speak, a God that gives us your full attention. I don't know how you do it, but you do. Thank you for being a God that became fully human and came into this world and knows every temptation, knows every frustration that we have. Thank you for giving your life on the cross for us. In your precious holy name, amen.
bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. And all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. And all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. Pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. Great are you, Lord. Great are you, Lord.
We're excited to know that some of you are ready to take some next steps in your faith journey. We want to come alongside you, support you, and equip you through this process. chccsa.info is your central hub for all next steps. If you want to submit a prayer request, talk to someone about getting baptized and giving your life to Jesus, or you're looking for a place to serve or a place to get connected to our church, chccsa.info is a great place to start for all these next steps. Some of you call Castle Hills Christian Church your home. And if that's you and you want to continue to partner with us financially as we serve both here in San Antonio and around the world, you can go to give.chccsa.com, or you can text the message GIVE to the number 210-903-5440. Thank you for your support. We're so glad that you're here today, and we hope to see you next week.